And hello everyone, welcome back to The Decap. And today we have my college first and second teams. That's what you call them. I'm not going to be doing my third team, but I will be giving the couple players that just missed the second team. Now, I have 3 players that just missed the cut of the top 10 players on my list. Now, first off, I have Malachi Flynn. Now, most people do have Malachi on probably their second team, I would say, but I really don't like Malachi Flynn. He was probably the leader of San Diego State, but San Diego State was a 2 seed most likely, and he averaged 16 points. He was decent on the defensive end. He's still a great player. It's just I don't know if he would perform at that level if he was in a Big Ten conference, ACC, even Big 12 with Kansas and Baylor. Now, another player that just missed the cut is Daniel Oturu. Now, Daniel Oturu was basically all Minnesota had. He averaged, 20 points, 11 rebounds. Definitely nobody knew his name coming into the season, but he definitely proved that he is a great player, and now he probably will get drafted in the first round, maybe top 20, I would say. And Daniel Oturu averaged 20 points, 11 rebounds in a conference as tough as the Big Ten, so, he definitely deserves some consideration on this list. Now, my third player that just missed the cut is Jared Butler. He is of the Baylor Bears, and He's the leader of that team. He's great on defense. He's a decent offensive game. It's just I don't know if he's a star. He's when I look at the first and second teams, I mostly think individual and team second, and he's more of a team first type of guy. Now moving on to the second team, the fifth player that made my list is Filip Petrusev, power forward out of Gonzaga. Now, Filip averaged 17.5 points, 8 rebounds, and was the best player on the projected 1 seed. So, a minute ago I said I don't value team success as high, but when you can put up 17.5 points and you're on one of the best teams in college basketball, you definitely deserve to be on this list of top 10 players in college basketball. Filip Petrusev will definitely go in the draft because of the season. He probably would have gone second round at the beginning of this year, but he definitely proved he's a great player, and now he'll go first round, I would say. I would say first round. Now, fourth on my list, Cassius Winston, a point guard out of Michigan State. Now, I did do a Michigan State quarantine special, so some of you might say it is biased, but I really think Cassius Winston deserves to be on the second team. He averaged 19 points, 2.5 rebounds, 6 assists in one of the hardest conferences that college basketball has seen in years, maybe ever. And he led a team to a projected 3 seed and a co-Big Ten champ, and he led the team to a run at the end of the season where me as a Michigan State fan had me believing that Michigan State had a chance to win it all. Now, Cassius Winston this season earned the Michigan State all-time assist leader, and he did all this, 19.6 assists, led a co-Big Ten champion, made the assist all-time leader at Michigan State while playing through the tragedy of his brother's suicide. Now, some of you may be like, we've heard enough, but it's just that he has to fight every single night just to be able to play with the grief on his mind. Now, I listened to some college basketball podcasts, and I remember, I think Gary Parrish from the CBS Eye on College Sports basketball podcast said, now, suicide is different from a car crash for someone, because with a car crash, you know it's not your fault, but Cassius Winston, with his brother committing suicide, wonders, did I give my brother enough love? Maybe I could have I could have just spent more time with him and he wouldn't have committed suicide. But Cassius Winston, number 4, great player, great leader, and I think he will be a good NBA player even if he goes in the second round late first. Now, 3, I have Myles Powell, point guard / shooting guard out of Seton Hall. Now, Powell is kind of offense only, as he averaged 21 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. A bit of a down year and lower than what people expected of him, but he still led a good Seton Hall team. And Myles Powell was someone that can always go get you a bucket and that is very useful, and he definitely deserves to be on the second team. People would have projected him on the first team, but 21 points definitely gets you on the top 10 players in college basketball. Now, number 2 on this list is Vernon Carey, a center out of Duke. He averages 18 points, 9 rebounds, and carried Duke, I would say, on the offensive end. Now, Tre Jones was probably the leader, but Vernon Carey, I would say, is more talented than Tre Jones and carried Duke on the offensive end. Now, Vernon Carey is a consistent bucket getter for Duke, and if he would have stayed out of foul trouble, then Vernon Carey would have been, I would say, a first team, not All-American, but just a first teamer. Not a preseason All-American, but, he probably was, but, okay, I'm rambling a bit. And now first on my list is Devin Dotson, point guard out of Kansas, averaging 18 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Devin Dotson is the leader of a 1 seed, and he's a great leader to Udoka Azubuike. Now, Devin Dotson might not be as talented as someone like maybe even Vernon Carey or maybe Daniel Turo. He might not be that talented. Definitely not as talented as an Obi Toppin, but Devin Dotson is just a great college player. I see him as more of a Cassius Winston player, and I would love to see him stay at Kansas until his senior year and just see what he can do. And I said that he might go on to have a great NBA career. It's just a little bit small, and I don't know. The assist numbers aren't that there. But Devin Dotson is a great leader. He might not be the highest on this list based on his team, but he still is a great player. Now, I'll read off my second team. I'll read the people I picked. So I had Devin Dotson at the 1 spot, Vernon Carey 2, Myles Powell 3, Cassius 4, Cassius Winston, and Philip Petrusev. I don't know how to pronounce that. But now, position-wise, it would be Devin Dotson, Cassius Winston, Myles Powell, Philippe Petrusev, and Vernon Carey. Now, moving on to my first team, at the 5th spot, I have Marcus Howard. Now, point guard out of Marquette. Marcus Howard, his team started slipping at the end of the season. He still probably would have been 8 or 9 seed, but he did average 28 points, and in college, that is insane because the people on this list average 18 points, and even going up, I think there's one player that's above 21 points. Now, Marcus Howard, I like to see him as the James Harden of college basketball as he scores, and is kind of the lone bright spot on not James Harden isn't. Well, James Harden has Russell Westbrook, but Marcus Howard is, I would say, the lone bright spot on an underachieving team, as they were expected to be a 4 or 5 seed, and they slipped at the end of the season all the way to a 9 or 10 seed, maybe 8. But Marcus Howard, great player, great on the offensive end. Obviously, he won't get drafted high because he is a little bit older, but he still is a great college player, and it's fun to see for a fan of college basketball like I am. Now, at the 4th spot is another guard, Peyton Pritchard. Now, Peyton Pritchard averaged 20.5 points, 5.5 assists, and obviously is a point guard out of Oregon. Now, Peyton Pritchard led Oregon to a good season when they weren't really supposed to be good, and Peyton Pritchard is another guy, like Marcus Howard, like Myles Powell. Peyton Pritchard can go and get you a bucket. Now, when I think Peyton Pritchard, I remember watching this game against Arizona. I don't know if you want to go find it. It was 10:30 at night, maybe 11. And Peyton Pritchard just went off. He would hit every shot. And I want to say in the first half, he had 20 to 25 points. And from that point on, I loved Peyton Pritchard. He would just rise up and hit the three-pointer no matter how close the defense was. Now, Peyton Pritchard at the number 4 spot for me. At the number 3 spot, I have Udoka Azubuike, center out of Kansas. I talked about him a bit when I talked about Devin Dotson, but Udoka Azubuike is, as well as Marcus Howard and Devin Dotson, he's a great college player. Udoka averaged 14 points, 10.5 rebounds, so obviously he's a great rebounder. And Azubuike is also a great duo with Devin Dotson, as he can run the pick and roll amazingly. Is that a verb? I think so, right? With a great duo with Devin Dotson, great pick and roll with Devin Dotson. And Azubuike is great on offense and defense, which you don't always see from big men actually in college. It's just there's a lot more defense, as in the NBA a lot of players don't really try, but in college everyone does try because you want to win and you're not getting paid, so there's no reason to take plays off. But I really like Udoka Azubuike. Obviously, he can't really shoot the three, which is why he won't be a great player in the NBA. But he is a really fun player to watch in college, as he can beat anyone in the post, which I like seeing. Now, number 2 is another big man that is kind of a post god and won't be amazing in the NBA. But that is Luka Garza, center out of Iowa. Now, Luka Garza single-handedly carried Iowa through a brutal Big Ten schedule, and he averaged 24 points, 10 rebounds in the Big Ten, which, as I said before, might be one of the best conferences college basketball has ever seen this year, in 2019 to 2020. Luka Garza, I mean, if you're saying, like, based on dominance, I really think he would have been 1, but if you have to account for team success as well, so that is why sneak peek at my number 1, Obi Toppin beats Luka Garza. But Luka Garza definitely had an amazing season, and I would love to see him come back to college to average 25 points next year and just see if Iowa can be any better, get any help around Luka Garza. But now at my number 1 spot, I just said it, Obi Toppin, power forward out of Dayton. Now in my mock draft, I had him going high because I really like Obi. He averaged 20 points, 7.5 rebounds, and led a historic Dayton team for Dayton's history, of course. Not like their record wasn't historic, but in Dayton history it was. But Obi Toppin is just a freak athlete. He had crazy dunks, and I think almost everyone had Obi at their player of the year. Only maybe some Iowa fans didn't have him, as Luka Garza is a great player as well. But Obi Toppin definitely had a great season, historic season. He had Jalen Crutcher, a great point guard, to pass him the ball, and just some of his dunks are just crazy. I can watch just Luka Garza. If you type in Obi Toppin highlight reel, it's just really fun to watch. But now my first team, I'll go 1 to 5 and then the positions like I did with the second team. But I have Obi Toppin, Luka Garza, Udoka Azubuike, Peyton Pritchard, Marcus Howard. Now at the 1, I would have Peyton Pritchard, 2, Marcus Howard, 3, I would have Obi, 4 and 5 are kind of hard because they're both like non-shooting centers, but I think Luka Garza can shoot the 3 a bit better than Udoka. So I'd have Luka Garza at the 4 and Udoka Azubuike at the 5. Now, I'll go through them all. Just missing the cut, Malachi Flynn out of San Diego State, Daniel Oturu out of Minnesota, Jared Butler out of Baylor, Philip Petrusev out of Gonzaga, Cassius Winston out of Michigan State, Miles Powell out of Seton Hall, Vernon Carey out of Duke, Devin Dotson out of Kansas, and then my first team, Marcus Howard out of Marquette, Peyton Pritchard out of Oregon, Udoka Azubuike out of Kansas, Luka Garza out of Iowa, and Obi Toppin out of Dayton. In all, I had 2 teams, well, no, not 2, 1 team getting multiple players, and that is Kansas, as Kansas was the number 1 overall team, so that definitely makes sense. Now, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I definitely want to do more college stuff in the future, because honestly, I think I do like college more than the NBA, just because I do think more people try on defense, and it's just more entertaining. But I've been doing a lot of NBA, so I look to do more college stuff in the future. And as I mentioned in the previous video, we will be doing ranking the best NBA players at each number. I just haven't gotten around to making that happen, but it will happen, I would say, maybe in a week, because obviously my next video will be top centers. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you come back to watch more. And comment down below what you would change. I definitely would understand if you put Malachi Flynn instead of Cassius Winston, maybe even Daniel Oturu for Philip Petrusev, or maybe take Miles Powell out if you didn't like him because you don't like his not one man, but his only offensive game. Now, thanks for watching, and peace.